right now to kick this thing off is I'm going to go to each one of our guests one by one, and I want them to give you a brief introduction of themselves and what they do. And right now, I'm looking at the man. I'm going to start with Michael Taylor. Sir, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, my name is Michael Taylor. How I fit into theater, I sit on the board at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego, and I also host Theater Corner, which is an interview series. We interview Black actors, playwrights, directors, other theater professionals, and happy to announce that we'll debut on KPPS on August 7th. So follow us on Facebook and all of that stuff, and watch out for updates. Thank you.
That's right. Next, I'm going to go to Delicia Turner-Sonnenburg.
Hi. First, I want to say I think we lost Jacole.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So let her back in on the panel. I'm Delicia Turner-Sonnenburg. I was a founder and the former artistic director of Moxie Theater in San Diego. And now I am a freelance director.
That's right. Thank you, Delicia. Up next, how about we go to TJ Antonio Johnson?
Hi, I'm TJ, and I started my career here in 1981. I came out here to play football for the Chargers, but the Chargers didn't want me. So I had to find something else to do. And I found theater by accident, and I've been totally involved in the scene for, almost 40 years. And wanting to make it better is why we're here.
That's right. That's right. Up next, how about Miss Yolanda Franklin?
Hi, everybody. I'm Yolanda Franklin, and I act, I direct, and currently the guest artistic director for Common Ground Theater, which is the third largest longest running African-American theater in the United States of America. And I'm there employing African-American actors, crew members, and hoping to collaborate with other African-American theater companies in San Diego. That's the goal.
That's right.
As well as everyone else, but right now, that's the goal, is to get us all together to do some projects.
That's right. Did we get Jacole back yet? No? Okay, we'll wait for we'll plug in Jacole when she comes back in.
Jacole and Dajahn Blevins. We'll get back to you.
We'll get back to them. So let's go ahead and jump into our conversation. And everybody, I want you all to know that this is not a one-time thing. We are looking to turn this into a series. So again, I want to thank all of you who are listening, joining us today. We're hoping to have a great conversation. Again, I want to say thank you to all of our guests. We're all aware of the current moment we're in. We've all been affected by the current lockdown, and then subsequently, just the civil unrest and things that we've had in the past. And so we're at this moment, and I figure, what, if someone gives you a check, you might as well cash it. And we have the opportunity to now have these discussions and hopefully have them in a real way moving forward. The conversation today is just going to be based on two main questions that will move us into a broader conversation. And again, as we are in this current moment, what I want to do is, as each one of our guests talk about, we got a little introduction to how they got into theater. I want them to expound about what have been major issues or challenges during your theater career as it relates to race, specifically being African-American or Black in theater. What have been challenges, things that you've seen, things that have bothered you, things that you have worked to correct, or things that you have worked on to show what true representation is? Delicia, if you don't mind, I'll start with you.
Okay, well, since you're starting with me, I'd like to give Jacole, who's joined us, an opportunity to introduce herself.
Did she come back in?
Yes.
But she's muted.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. So sorry, technical issues, the things we all are dealing with Zoom. Jacole Kitchen. I am the artistic programs manager and local casting director for La Jolla Playhouse, formerly the casting director and artistic associate at San Diego Rep. But I got my start in this career as an agent for professional theater actors, directors, and choreographers in Los Angeles. Thanks, Delicia.
All right.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Jacole. All right,
Um,
Delicia, let's go.
Okay. And so Ahmed, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, for sure. Just again, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of highlight for us? What have been, since you've been in this career, what are the challenges or things that you've seen that have bothered you, or that you feel that you've seen have need to change, as far as coming from the perspective as being Black or African American in San Diego and American theater?
All right. I've been thinking about sometimes when I am like in a talk back, or students ask me questions in like a student matinee, one of the questions that comes up a lot is, have you experienced any racism in your field? And for me, it's a little bit of a complicated answer, because I am a product of my upbringing, right? And I was born in 1970s in Atlanta, and all my messages were Black is beautiful, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. I mean, like today's Juneteenth. Being in Atlanta, in a whole Black universe where I grew up in a Black neighborhood, my granddad is a preacher, Black church, right? I thought everyone wanted to be a dark-skinned Black girl. I thought everybody wanted to grow up and be me. And when Black History Month would come, to paraphrase my cousin from today, like, I am Black every day, but like Black History Month, I was blackity black, right? I mean, like, it was even more great to be Black, right? And Juneteenth, blackity black. And I always felt like it was my responsibility, especially because I'm the oldest, I'm the first grandchild, to take advantages of opportunities that my elders had provided for me. And so I thought that every place was my place. People died so that that could be true for me. People bled so that that could be true for me. So if I wasn't invited to the table, I found a way to invite myself. I crashed the party, right? And so so my particular thing right now that I'm dealing with is, I used to think other people's ignorance is not my problem, right? But what I'm learning is, in this current moment, that other people's ignorance is my problem. That I have to be, I have to call out the things publicly that I maybe used to call out in private. I think that's where I am right now. You're muted, Ahmed. Ahmed, you're muted.
Of course I am. Very quickly, Mr. Dajahn Blevins has entered the room. Dajahn, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you and see you. Why don't you go ahead and give everybody a quick introduction of yourself and how you got into this theater world, man?
How I got into the theater world. Well, currently how I got into the theater world, I have an organization called San Diego Urban Warriors Incorporated, and we use the arts to do behavior modification. We use the arts to do what we consider creative youth, family, and community development. San Diego Repertory Theatre allowed us to utilize the theater to celebrate the work that we do all year long. So for the past 31 years, we have been blessed to work in the community and then celebrate that work in a festival called Kumbha Fest, which will be celebrating the 29th next year.
That's right. Thank you, Dajahn. I'm gonna move the question to TJ Antonio Johnson, but Dajahn, you'll hear the question. I'm gonna ask it again so you can hear it, so you can be thinking about it when I come back to you. And basically, what the question is to lead us into the conversation. During your career working, in the performing arts, what have you seen as being an African American in the performing arts in San Diego or on a national level? What things have you seen that have challenged you or bothered you, or that you feel need to change as far as being Black and being represented and seeing the Black culture and Black playwrights and things as such represented in San Diego or American theater? And right now I'm going to go to TJ Johnson for that.
The thing that needs to change is how we're perceived in this business. I'll tell you a story. I went to New York, and I did some auditions in New York, and you know, they're pretty hectic. Well, I walk in and they look at my resume, and the director says, oh, look, you played Clarence Darrow. Oh, that's a very interesting casting. And I just off the tip of my tongue said, well, I'm not an actor. I said, I'm not a blackter, I'm an actor. And I didn't get that part. But what really amazes me in San Diego theater is that we're locked into a perception of who we are and what we can do. And unless you're like a Delicia who doesn't allow that, or you push past that, you don't get the same treatment. And it's unfair, and it's hard to explain, because if you explain it, they think you're accusing them of being prejudiced or racist. And what we're accusing them of is not being fair, simply, you know. We used to have a thing back in the old days, and everybody who was back there would understand, we used to have one black show a year, and everybody would show up for the audition. It was like a family reunion, you know. and they would do the, oh man, I ain't seen you since the last black show, you know. Or you would suggest something, you know, to the theaters, and they would say, oh, we don't do those kind of shows, or we're not going in that direction. Or you would become a difficult actor to work with, you know. And so if you stated your mind and your heart, it would affect you. So what we started to do was we started to not state our minds and our heart, and we became frustrated. I have a friend I'll tell you about who spent 40 years in this business, one of the best actors in the business, Sylvia Mlafi Thompson. And she is now in acute care with dementia, and she has just sort of been disappeared. I'm very scared that although, and I say this from my heart, I love the people in this community. I love this community. I don't think that we are considered. That's the word. We are considered fairly. Somebody asked me the other day, what would you like? I said, I would like fair treatment. I would like respect, and don't kill me.
let me ask you, let me really quickly just stay with you on that for a moment. Expound a little bit more on fair. Like, expound a little bit more so people can understand what do you exactly mean is not fair?
We're actors. We're not considered for every part. We're not giving the respect. They waste our time a lot. And I'll tell you something, what happened recently, a theater did a black show. The show was cast out of town, and they still held auditions here. I went to the auditions, and I knew the show was cast out of town because I knew people were in it. I had directed people in the show. And they said the show was cast a long time ago. And they held auditions anyway. The consideration is not there, you know. And it causes, and if we speak up, if we say, hey man, that ain't cool, we're difficult actors. You know, I've had people call me on the phone and say, how can I work with this actor? She's difficult, you know? And it's because we come into the situation as being blackers, not actors, you know, and we're not considered like the rest of, I have never seen an actor or director want anything special because of the color of our skin. But we don't want to be eliminated or restricted because of the color of our skin either. And we do get that, okay? So you ask me to be blunt, I'm going to be blunt tonight. I don't trust the people who lead theater in this town to do the right thing. I have had projects that I have brought to the forefront, either not done, not promoted, or appropriated, and it becomes the project of the theater.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. And that's exactly what we want. And I think that's exactly what we got on this panel is honesty and bluntness. I want to move the same question over to Jacole. What have you seen since you've been working in theater, or what are the things that bother you or that you feel need to be, that you have felt over your career need to be addressed, or that have bothered you or that you have had to overcome?
First off, I just want to co-sign everything that Delicia and TJ said, 100%. And the consideration of the actor, it's very real, because they are literally the last to be considered in the process at all. And so the thing that I'm dealing with, and the thing that's sitting on my heart, and I appreciate that Delicia just sort of opened the door of this is where I'm at right now. And the thing that's sitting on my heart right now is the lack of representation from the top down everywhere in this industry. I'm going to say everywhere that I've worked, from being an agent to being the 2 institutions that I've worked at in the various capacities. And I've been at these places long term. I was at my agency for 6.5 years. I was at the Rep for, I want to say, 4.5. I've been at the Playhouse now for 3.5. I have been either the only or one of 2 Black women at any of those places. Now at the Playhouse, because Nikki Cooper left, she was our head of patient services, I am the only Black woman who works at La Jolla Playhouse. That is a giant institution. There are 2 Black people that work there, period. That's a problem. And as an agent, I wasn't just the only Black person that worked at the agency. I was one of few Black agents, period. And so you don't have the people representing the people who are going to take the kind of considerations that TJ's talking about. When I was being trained as an agent, the people who I saw filling out the breakdowns before me, the only time I would see Black names or people of color put into roles that didn't specifically ask for that is when it said open to any ethnicity. The 1 or 2 roles on the breakdown that said open to any ethnicity would get people of color thrown in. But other than that, it was, if it's nondescript, it's assumed white. And that is part of our industry. I mean, that's part of our world. I mean, listen to people talk. If they're talking about somebody and they don't describe their ethnicity, they're probably white, because they'll be sure to say, I talked to a Black girl, or it was this Mexican lady that was waiting on me, or this, Filipino girl in line, because it's always part of our definition, because things are assumed white, if not defined. So representation, and then again, going back to the actor being the last one, you think about the people who are choosing the plays. So again, the artistic leadership, the leadership of the roles, there's not or the leadership of the institutions, there's not representation there. And then you think about the people who they're hiring the people in their circles, which probably aren't going to be people of color. And then the people who are, so now we have our directors and our creative teams that are, and our design teams that are put together, and those aren't diverse. So nobody's really considering people of color yet. Then you get to the casting part. There are so few people of color in casting. So again, how deeply are people putting the consideration in? So by the time you get all the way down to the actor, nobody's thought about it. So you have these actors of color that are like wanting to get in the door and go, yeah, we put out the breakdown and we say really open to anybody, but we know that the writer, the director's choices are going to be already at the top of the list, and they don't include that representation. Yes, there are exceptions to every rule. I'm not, every rule, but as a general practice, it's the representation from the top down that's missing, which is why the actors aren't getting the consideration that they deserve.
Thank you. Let's move it now to Michael Taylor. What are your thoughts on this subject?
I guess I could speak from the board position. It's pretty lonely for as one brother on the board there at at the Globe. I mean, plain and simple, the lack of diversity on the boards of some of these larger theaters, and I think it's kind of consistent across the country. I mean, there's upwards of 50 members of the board at the Globe, and I'm the only Black male, and there's one Black female. And I guess first it needs to be a welcoming space, you know, to even see folks like yourself to develop an interest to want to be on a board. As a matter of fact, I mean, I've been going to the Globe for quite a few years. It was only until they hired Freedom that I started entertaining being on the board there. Freedom Bradley Valentine.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's one thing. And just as Jacole alluded to, the lack of diversity and void of Black folks on staff. There's one issue that I'm like looking at with the Globe is their set design warehouse kind of sits right there in the middle of the hood, but there's no Black folks in there working or not even getting an opportunity as an apprentice or anything. You know, it's just you know, well, why is that? You know, it might be some obvious answers that, just like Jacole mentioned, you know, the people running these departments, you know, they consider folks that look like themselves. So these are some of the issues that stand out. And one last thing is the idea that only Black folks only want to come see Black shows. And so, you know, like you can see what's advertised in the Voice and Viewpoint, which is the largest and oldest Black newspaper in San Diego.
Right.
The advertisements seem to pop up when there's a so-called Black play, August Wilson or something, and you don't necessarily see a Shakespeare advertised or any other plays, and so I don't know what that means. Or I don't know if it's. Sometimes I feel that we should be mildly insulted, as if, like, if it's the Shakespeare, like, well, Black folks aren't going to get it or understand it or be interested. You know, I love Shakespeare. You know, but in terms of reaching out and developing a relationship as a theater with the Black community, just showing up for when it's a Black play, that's not necessarily relationship building. And trying to make the theater a welcoming space for Black folks. And so if it's all about selling tickets, you know, for when it's a Black play, say that. Okay, it's about selling tickets, and stop talking about relationship building with the community. You know, that's my take on that question, brother.
Thank you, Michael. Yolanda, what you got to say about this?
Wow. As an actor, being left out of being able, like Jacole said, to be able to audition for whatever role I wanted to. I once, they didn't specify if it was white or Black, so I assumed that I could apply, you know, I could audition. So, but I found out, the stage manager wrote me back and said, oh no, it's assumed that it's going to be white. So no, you're not welcome to audition. So actually being told that, yes, actually being told that. So they rejected my resume. And then another thing, I hate to say it this way, but if you can put on an African play and get money for it, or some project and get money for it, but then where is the collaboration with the I don't know how to say this, like being exploited and being used just to get that money, but where is the representation of the African American person at the top with you. Because if you're applying for grants and things to use my people to be a part of this big, huge project that's basically all African American or Somali or whatever it is, people of color, right? But then where am I or someone at top to collaborate with you, right? Or I don't know if this is a good example, or bringing something. I don't want to say that. Okay. Anyway, those are my two. Those are my two, because I don't want to call any specific people out. That's their story to bring to the table here. And that's another thing. Not knowing that there's any other African American theater companies. There are so many theater companies. TJ has Vagabond. There's Ira Aldridge. You know, I don't even think he was a part of that big Ira Aldridge thing that came to town. And that's the name of his theater company. And then there's San Diego Black Ensemble. To be invited to the table, to be able to be invited to the table. That's it. Not being invited to the table when you are at the top of this whole hierarchy. Not being able to be invited to the table. Not being thought that you match up. That what you have is worthy. That your voice is not worthy in the planning stage of it. And then I said, as an actor, just being shut out completely. So those are the things I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure something else will come up later.
Thank you, Yolanda. Mr. Blevins, you want to weigh in on this?
Sure. I'm a native San Diegan. I grew up in the southeastern region of San Diego. My father was a producer. There's a park in San Diego called Mountain View Park. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a park in San Diego called Mountain View Park. So before I was even born, it was like Congo Square, different singers, entertainers, poets, what have you. When they came to San Diego, every Sunday, it was a free concert in the park. Growing up in San Diego, where my surroundings appreciated and art was a part of our everyday life. There was a club called the Sportsman Club, where most musicians, once they got 18, or singers, they got a chance to go perform there. It's right in the heart of our community. The Black Frog, the Girls Club used to have sock hops. The Boys and Girls Club around the corner would have air band competitions. So, somebody talked about Sylvia M. Laffey Thompson earlier. She would do Jazz is Forever. Cool Jazz Festival used to happen in San Diego. So we just grew up. We had the Interfest at a place called ECC. Celebrities, we're right a hop, skip, and a jump away from LA. So celebrities were always here in San Diego, participating in our jazz. We had a jazz concert or festival like every other week. So growing up with all of that music and appreciation of our art and culture, and at the time doing it in a concentrated area kind of gave me a different kind of feeling. I never really wanted to be accepted in so-called white theater. I always wanted to build our own. I always wanted us to use theater to tell our story. My grandfathers would always let us know they love our culture, they love our music, but they don't love us. So don't ever get caught up thinking just because they put you on stage and they're applauding and giving you awards that they respect you as a human being. Understand why you're there. So growing up as a child, being exposed to that, I've kind of gone forward, in my career as far as acting and singing and dancing and producing and writing, because I didn't look for them to invite me. I'm the first grandchild, I'm the firstborn. So I'm a little bit like Delicia. I'm gonna do my own. I'm gonna start my own. I don't need you to, to invite me to the table. You need to come to this table, because this is really where the talent and the creativity and the art comes from in San Diego. So my experience has been different. I kind of live in that bubble, and whatever we want to see happen, we try to come together to do it. Many of the theater groups that were mentioned just before by Yolanda, all of those are my contemporaries. We all did plays together. You know, we all know each other. The Commission for Arts and Culture in San Diego that funds the arts, they made it very, very clear. They weren't funding us. You know, we didn't just run around and complain that they weren't giving us money. We made it known that we were aware that they had money, but they weren't funding us. We went out and raised our own. We created campaigns and said, each one, reach one till you get 10. And we've been able to sustain ourselves for over some 30 some years. The Old Globe warehouse, as the brother was speaking about earlier, we took our kids down there and sort of insisted that if you're gonna be in our community, you're gonna do internship programs. We got workforce partners to pay for it. We've graduated probably 16 kids since they've been in our community. But unless we consistently say, you ain't gonna come in our community and you're not gonna use our actors, you're not gonna use our music, you're not gonna exploit us, you know, without us reaping some benefit from it. So I just, you know, I've always sort of like been an activist with it. And there's been some ups and downs, but I expected the downs and was prepared for them.
That's right. Let me tag on to that with you, Dajahn, because like you, as you know, I'm a San Diego native, born and raised, you know, grew up in Mira Mesa. And, you know, at that time, you know, the school system was great. My field trips were to City Hall. My field trips were to the Old Globe. My field trips were to Balboa Park, the world famous San Diego Zoo. I know all kids that live around the country don't have exposure to that as, you know, as kids in the arts. The thing that really brought me into this industry was my father working at the Spreckles Theater for 40 plus years. The only thing that stopped him from working at the Spreckles was this current lockdown we're in. And so in high school, I needed some extra bucks. He would bring me down there to be a security guard during some shows. And that was my introduction to, like, you know, Shelly Garrett's Beauty Shop and, you know, shows like that were coming through. But like you said, those were the Black shows that the Black people got marketed to. And then later on, you know, in my 30s, I needed a job and I ended up working on the maintenance crew at the Spreckles Theater. And that was before I came here. And my experience in the performing arts does not come from on stage. It comes from the back. It comes from the backstage. And as it's come over the last 15 years, it's come from selling tickets. It's come from working in the box office. It's come in watching the crowds. It's come in watching who's buying the tickets and also watching who the tickets are sold to and how they're sold to what ethnic group that is coming in. And now that I work in fund development and have been working in software and have been able to travel the country and meet other theater professionals outside of the artistic side, but in the business side, the development side, the ticketing side, it boils down to what everybody's saying. It boils down to the numbers. There's just not enough of us in the room for people to even understand what we're about. You know, through ticketing and through fund development, I am a serious unicorn. A big, strong Black male who works in a box office, who works in development. I am a unicorn. It is a weird and strange sight, and people do not know how to deal with me, but that's because they're not exposed to anybody like me, and they don't realize I'm just like you. I'm just another person. I just came a different route. So, you know, to agree with what everybody said on this topic, it's a numbers game. It's an exposures game. It's who are we bringing in? Like, it's like almost everything else in the culture right now. Like, you know, you want our rhythms, but you don't want our blues. You know what I mean? So we have to recognize that. And honestly, the conversations need to be had, and the conversations are being had, but people really need to start listening to that. Like all of you are saying, it's an exposure thing. It's a numbers thing. Who's being bought into the game? Who's being bought in? Who's being really trusted, you know, to look at us honestly and be like, okay, this is what, you know, I want to represent. TJ, what you got?
Well, the other thing is that, you know, the anxiety that happens when we are involved because we know that they know that we know we are Black. And there's a whole bunch of anxiety that goes along. We don't get to run in the same race. You know, they shoot the gun, everybody takes off, and then the Black people come. And I, you know, I don't want to get heavy. The problem is we love what we do and we love the people we do it with. We don't consider them white. We consider them people we work with. And I feel, I just have to talk about me. I feel that we are considered to be Black, whatever, directors, actors. I sat at a table when I tried to start a theater, and I've tried to start a lot of theaters, a lot of projects I've tried to do in this town. And I sat at a table and in La Jolla, and one of the ladies, one of the donors said, I just want to ask a question. Why don't you go and start this with your people? And it stopped me because I thought my people were theater people. Yeah. And then she said, over in Southeast San Diego. Now we've done a lot of things as consortiums. We've done a lot of things together, and we don't do bad work, but we don't know how to measure ourselves because we're not measured by the same ruler as everybody else.
That's right. That's right. I just want to let everybody know in the room who's watching and who's here with us, we will have a question and answer period. So if you've got questions, just hold on to them. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. I want to, we've heard, from all of our different backgrounds, and the thing I like about this panel is that we have a wide array of backgrounds in this theater business right here, between the 7 of us talking. We know the moment we're in. We know what has spurred this conversation. We are aware of what's happening all around the country in every industry now, with people making strides to be inclusive. And I hope this is not a thing, as it is many times, that is just a passing fancy. I hope there's some real sincerity behind this. And with that being said, I want to turn the topic into, where do we go from now? Because now we are in this moment, and everybody from Little Debbie's to Nike is putting out their statements and talking about what they're going to do going forward. So, where do we go from here? What do we need to do if we can get people to understand now that, no, there's not equity in this thing, and equality is different from equity. We need to understand that equality is different from equity. There's not a lot of equity in this business. There is not proper representation in this business overall. We know that. So going forward, what is our wish list, or what are we looking for now that we're here? What do we know the problems? We hope, and we're hoping people are listening. What do we do from here going forward to change these things? And with that, let me turn that around and go to Yolanda.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I'll say it. Because I do work with all of the theater companies. I didn't get in as a Black actor. I got in as an actor that loved acting. That's where I started. And so whatever role I get in, you're going to have that because I come in with this face. So it's going to change. It's going to change what I do. And that could be something lovely. What I do think that I would like to see, what I do think I would like to see is I would like to see those same collaborations for me, where, okay, so because my mission is twofold, because I have a personal mission for my people, but I also have a personal mission to bring us together and do this narrative that's been said about the change, and we're going to work together now. Then let's work together. Let's do some mentorship. Let's residencies. You know how they do out at La Jolla Playhouse, where they actually bring a group in. There are groups, there are theater companies with money that could bring up another little, that's their goal, is to bring in a theater company of color. Why not have them come in and be a resident theater and actually help them with the marketing, mentor the directing, all of it. Okay, I just want to add this because I want to add this. There's something about when you immediately think that you don't like a person, and there's a reaction that you'll have to that person because you already have set in your mind that I don't like them. I don't like, they could say, I don't like Black people. So no matter what kind of person that person can be, if that's what's inside them, that's what they're going to project, and that's what they're going to see. I'm not saying let's all like each other, because you can do whatever you want. But if we try and see the good and really make this happen and work towards that and come up with a game plan, I'm just all about collaborating. I'm ready for that. I'm ready for some serious talks, and I'm ready also for us to go get some money, since there is a lot of money out there. So I'm ready to get Common Ground Theater funded with some money to help us with set design, to help us employ people, to help us. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now, so that we can bring the same kind of quality of theater that you, not just quality of, you're getting the quality of theater because you're getting fine actors, because we're fine actors. But I'm saying we need the funding to really get this thing where we want it to be. And we can't do that without our brother and sister helping us. So that's where I'm coming from right now. That's what I think will help change this thing. Okay.
Thank you, Yolanda. Jacole.
Oh. And a lot of talkbacks, a lot of educating people about us that needs to happen. That's what needs to happen. A lot of education about us, so that we're not this big, scary thing that walks into the room passionate with our passionate voices, because I've had to tone down how I speak and temper it so that people can understand the words coming out of my mouth, so they can hear it with their ears, right? But, and okay, I'm gonna stop right there. Come back later, I got more.
Okay, I'll come back.
Okay.
What you got, Cole?
Okay, so a couple things real quick. One, I am going to answer the question, but I raised my hand a minute ago because I feel like I have to address something, and I might owe TJ an apology, because when he said, I gave a little side-eye twisty lips of a little while ago when he said that we don't see our colleagues as white colleagues, we just see them as colleagues. I sit at the table, y'all, I see them as white. I sit at the table and I have these conversations, and I am so aware that my colleagues are white. But I feel what you're saying, that everything that we bring to the table is a Black director, so I feel everything that you're saying, but I felt like I just had to.
But it doesn't matter how we see them.
100%. No, agreed. 100%.
It matters how they see us.
Absolutely. And so to that, I'm gonna go real quick through my wish list, because it's so about exactly what Yolanda said. And I have to tell you, some of this is coming from a meeting that I had earlier where things were rising up. And so my wish list is exactly what Yolanda was saying, as far as bringing people to the table and creating pipelines, whether that's through the education system, whether that is through fellowships, whether that through internships, give people opportunity, because people are going to always get passed up because, well, you know what? We had the white girl and we had the Black girl, but the white girl just had a little more experience. Yeah, Mickey Ficky, she did, because she's been given opportunity. Yeah, she's going to have more opportunity. So yeah, I just filtered myself real well. Everybody who knows me knows that was a good filter. But the last thing that I will say, as far as my wish list, and it speaks so much to what Yolanda just said, and it's something that came out of a meeting earlier, is we don't get to exist in spaces as our authentic selves. We code switch and we shape shift to make people feel more comfortable with our bodies and our words in the room. And we don't do that to make us more comfortable. I don't code switch to make me more comfortable. I code switch to make you comfortable, because you are uncomfortable with my authentic self. So if I had a wish for our community, it would be to be able to exist in a space as our authentic selves, without white assumptions, without white fear, and without white reactiveness. And that is the way that we're actually going to be able to have real spaces at the table. Because as she said, right now at the table, it's a little bit of, oh, she got a little loud. Like even right now, there's people like, I've never heard Jacole get this loud. And because I have to put myself in a smaller box to make you understand the words that I'm saying. And so I would love to not have to do that. And I would love for us to not have to do that, because even it's different for me, because I get impassioned, but I'm still light. I'm still approachable. I'm still, half white. I'm, the approachable Black woman. And so you put this kind of passion in another package, it's very, ooh, that's really off-putting. And I would love to change that.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that. You know, I have sat in rooms and watched men the comparable age of myself say some stuff that is outrageous, that is crazy. If I had said that with that same attitude, they would have called the police. And a lot of you who know me, you're like, well, Ahmed, you're not filtered. You have no idea how much I have to tone it down just so I don't terrify you. But I would be talking at the same rate as the guy sitting next to me at the table. It's a little more scarier if it comes from me. It's a little more scarier, but I'm talking about the same thing and I'm talking at the same rate and I'm talking with the same passion. But if it comes from me, it'll terrify you. So yeah, there's a lot of shrinking down just naturally who we are because it's scary. It's scary to people. And so I just wanted to piggyback on that. Let me go to you. Go ahead, TJ.
That was Dajahn.
Dajahn had something to say.
No, I was saying it's scary to white people. And, you know, Jacole, you're a tall, beautiful Black woman. Brother Dents, you a big old brother. I'm a little brother.
Yeah.
And they still get scared when you speak to who you are and what your passion is. We already know. So I'm wondering since we already know, we're going to work together. That thing that TJ said we used to do, that one Black play a year, a lot of theater groups came out of that. A lot of offshoots came out of that. A lot of self-esteem and people feeling that there is an audience for us, even if it is just once a year. That has not existed in over 15 years. I sit as a commissioner now. They don't think that Black theater people and Black artists are that serious about it because we're quiet about it. We go along to get along. And I really see that as part of the problem. San Diego is so cliquish, and you can come here as an artist and fall into the cliques, or you can come here and make a difference. And so my wish list is that we come together to make a difference. The universe, the world, God, and everything else is calling for things to be done differently and to quit playing with it. Quit shrinking yourself down. If you're an artist, you should want to be heard. The commission that I sit on, there's probably like 3 artists on the entire commission for arts and culture. We as artists have to change that. That's my wish list.
Thank you, Dajahn. Mr. Taylor, I want to get to question and answers. We'll get there in just a minute, but I want to make sure everybody gets their thoughts out about this subject. Mr. Taylor, what do you see that should be or needs to change moving forward?
What was the last part of the question? I'm sorry.
Just what do you see that needs to change or that needs to be done, or what action steps need to be done moving forward to make this a more equitable place or space?
I think in terms of what could be done, like especially like right now, since it's so popular to acknowledge Black folks with all of what's going on, perhaps I think there should, something like a round table of some sort. Invite folks in and have an extremely uncomfortable conversation around a lot of these topics that you guys brought up, and face to face and just put it all on the table. And and with the expectation of holding these theaters accountable. I think that's the most immediate start. Face-to-face conversation, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and it should be uncomfortable, but the most effective medicine, it's a little rough going down.
That's right. That's right. How about you, Delicia?
I think that all of my colleagues here have stated some things, and I'm still working out my wish list because, sometimes I'm doing well. It's day to day. sometimes it's moment to moment, as Patricia McGregor and I were talking about the other night. But I will say this, and this is for, this is a part of me making things more public. I will say to Black artists, a part of what I want to pass forward is stop apologizing that your experiences are different. Stop apologizing and owning that as a strength. So, for example, I'll just give you a small example. I was working on a play and somebody said, "Oh my God, you never saw Gone with the Wind?" And I said, "No, why would I?" Doesn't make me a less right. Or, "Oh my God, you haven't read that book?" I'm like, "Did your mother read you the complete works of Paul Laurence Dunbar?" Or, it doesn't make me less, it just makes us different.
Right.
And so my wish for theaters is that that value the difference, not right. I mean, like, that would be my wish list. That I demand that people don't see me as less. I just say, I don't need to know the Beatles. They were a boy band that's not, I listened to Motown. I didn't listen to the Beatles. That doesn't mean I don't love music. Right?
Right.
So I wish for the ones, each one teach one. I hope that we can teach one to value their own experiences and see those as valid and say, hey, look, I got the same training as my white colleagues in my department, but then I have all this extra stuff that they don't have. I have Paul Laurence Dunbar and Phyllis Whitley and the Harlem's Renaissance writers and the Black arts writers and Childress and Hansberry and Nottage. I mean, like, I'm amazing, right? So I think that that is what I think my work is moving forward.
Wow.
Okay, thank you, Delicia. How about you, TJ?
I'm going to be a little different. I'm going to say I'm tired of these meetings.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the panels. I'm tired of us trying to figure out what white people need to do. They know what they've been doing for years. They know what's unfair. They know all of that. You hire an associate artistic director. You hire directors. You go into the schools. They got the money. They know what to do. This is all just, I'm sorry, it's bullshit. We've done this so many times. This is a rerun. This is Roots 2, you know? Right. So if you don't know what to do as artistic director for diversity, I can do it. I'll be a great artistic director. I'll bring it. I've done Chekhov, Pinter. I hate them, but I'll do them. Okay? I've done Shakespeare. I've done August Wilson. I've done everything. You want me to tell you what to do with your guilt? You know? So if you want to do something, Dajahn has been doing Kumbha Fest for 20-something years. Give him the resources he needs to make it a tradition in this society, in this community. Hire some associate artistic directors. Delicia's been directed. I don't even want to talk about it. Let me tell you. we act like, you know, everybody's coming all week. I've been getting calls. And this is the problem. This is what I meant, Jacole. I love the people I work with. I love them. I don't care what color they are. I love them. I've been knowing them for years, 40 years almost. I can sit there. I love having dinner with them. I love talking theater with them. I love teaching their kids. I love the critics. I love everybody. It's hard for me to say you're not doing me right. You're not being fair to us. It's hard for me. But I want to still work with them. I think the San Diego theater community is one of the greatest communities in the country. I really do. And I've been at almost every theater in town, maybe one or two, you know. So I want, what are you going to do? Why doesn't the Globe just give us a season, or give us one of those 3 theaters for a season? La Jolla Playhouse, give us a season. Train some artistic directors to run the season, and then every year have this. Make a commitment. Next week, get in the newspaper and make a commitment. I'm going to do something different. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, TJ. Thank you. I appreciate it. I know it's a Friday night and we got stuff to do, but we want to go ahead and move into the question and answer section. I want to thank all of my guests. And another reminder, everybody, this is not a one-off. This is going to be a series. So you will see the guests I have here back and other guests in the community. This is just, we wanted to get the ball rolling. I do have one question I have a question from a Facebook viewer. And I'll take a volunteer to answer this one. Maybe I'll answer it. I'll start off with the answer. How do you maintain positivity in the face of paucity or opportunities? My mom and dad picked cotton. My mom and dad picked cotton in the swamps of Alabama. That's my answer. My mom, not my grandfather, not my great grandfather, my mother and father. My mother and father, the same one I told you worked at the Spreckles building, they picked cotton together. Them. That's how I maintain positivity, because you have to have positive. That's the human condition. The human condition is to move forward. The human condition is to move forward despite the circumstances facing you, despite anything coming against you. You continue to move forward, and you move forward with the attitude that, you're going to die on your feet rather than die begging on your knees. And so the positivity is what is needed to move you forward and to move your children forward and to move the next generation forward. Now I'll shut my mouth and move on to whoever else wants to answer that question. Anybody else? How do you maintain? Let's go to you, Mr. Taylor. How do you maintain your positivity in spite of all these things that we have been seeing all of our lives?
Oh, geez. I'm just naturally a self motivator, but I don't know. I guess a lot of it is it's seated in understanding my abilities and what I'm able to do, what I bring to the table. I would like to really quickly amend my other answer in light of TJ's response, and I really appreciate that, brother TJ. And so perhaps, if there is a round table, I would also add to invite some of these high-end donors that the theaters have to this particular round table, because they have more influence on the theater and what happens in the theater, what directions the theater goes, than most people actually realize. And so this is a type of conversation that they should actually be in as well. Because if they don't change, the likelihood of a theater changing it's not so high. And that's just that's a truth.
Mhm.
Thank you. I want to just, before I move on to the next person with the question, I want to remind everybody, please type your questions in the chat. Type your questions in the chat, and then the questions will be relayed to me, and I will answer them. I do have another question on deck, but I want to keep going with the positivity question, and I want to give that one to Jacole.
I wasn't sure at first if I was prepared to answer that, because like Delicia was saying, it changes minute by minute how I'm feeling about things and how positive I'm feeling at all. So the idea of staying positive is almost foreign right now. But how do I conjure up positivity throughout all of this? I will say the two things that for me personally right now, I have to say that I am very blessed. I work at a predominantly white institution, and I started this conversation by saying I am literally one of 2 Black people who are employed by La Jolla Playhouse. But I feel very blessed right now to be in the position that I am, because one, we're an arts organization in the period of COVID, and we are still employed, and we are still creating art and employing artists and creating. So my day-to-day is still filled with making art. So that's one of them. But the other thing, and I actually hesitated to say this because I don't want it to sound like blowing smoke and I don't want it to be premature, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. The dismantling is happening. That's the other thing that is giving me a glimpse of positivity right now. In a meeting just today, Chris Ashley brought up to his artistic department the idea of having a very, very difficult conversation with the board that wouldn't have come up otherwise. And he was like, should we have this? And everybody on the team was like, hell yes. The fact that he wanted to have that conversation. So that's happening. And I will say the pipeline conversation that both Yolanda and TJ pointed out and really called forth the Playhouse, because we have the resources and the programs that already have started to exist in those realms. We are having those conversations for real, not just the like, yeah, we should do that. But no, here, action items. This is what we are committing to, and having the ugly conversations, as Michael was saying too, we're getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And that is the only way real change is going to happen. So even as painful as it is to have these conversations over and over and over again, seeing that the dismantling is starting to happen is giving me glimpses of hope.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. Just even this, what we're taking part of right now, when Sam talked to me about this, and I told him the only way I do it is if it was real. A lot of people know me. I don't like the modern buzzwords. I don't even like POs. Whatever. I'm Black. That's what I know I am. I get it. I understand. But it's almost like Ice Cube. I'm African American. Like everything is fair again. I get it. I understand these are the terms we use, and that's what it is today. But my thing was that it had to be real. And Sam, and to Sam's credit and to Larry's credit, our managing director, Larry told me, he said, nah, nothing's off the table. Like, if it's an uncomfortable conversation, it's an uncomfortable conversation. If people need to hear it, people need to hear it. And so, just to piggyback on what both you and Michael are saying, is like, yeah, these are going to have to be uncomfortable conversations, but, we got to have these uncomfortable conversations every day. We have them amongst ourselves, and then we have to try to relate those to everybody else. And so, yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on that. I do have another question. It's specifically for Dajahn, but it's a question that I can also attest to when Dajahn was talking about cliquish. I haven't only worked in theater here in San Diego for the last 17 years. I've also worked in radio in this town in the last 17 years, and in media and in entertainment. And Dajahn, can you shed a light on, the question is San Diego more cliquish than other cities you've been to?
One of the reasons why San Diego's cliques stick out is because we're such a small percentage of the population. Mm-hmm. If we were, a million strong, the cliques wouldn't really matter, because cliques is part of, just human nature. People want to associate with people that they have things in common with. But specifically, as far as the theater is concerned in San Diego, we barely make up 4% of the population, but like Yolanda was saying earlier, we have like 7 theaters. Most of those theaters and the people in them don't work together. Some of them don't even know each other. So the whole griot part of our history being passed down to the next generation looks like there was never anything there for them to continue. So it's not so much that San Diego is more cliquish than other cities. It's that we're such a small percentage of the population. And when the funding sources and the larger theater community sees us not working together, knowing that we're so few in numbers, it kind of puts a light on us. It's ridiculous. It's like, there's only 10 of y'all. Why do you have why don't you bring them together and do something? So hopefully,
and Ahmed, it would be okay to be cliquish if the opportunity was fair, if the opportunity was even. We've had some great actors in this town. Damon Bryant came up in this town. He was one of the greatest actors. They wanted him in Hollywood. They wanted him on Broadway. But the opportunity, and you don't have to like anybody. What I'll say is that you don't have to like the actor. You don't have to, but you have to understand that we come from a different place. And that place means that it may not be comfortable for you, but the opportunity now is for them to do something. The NASCAR people took down the Confederate flag. That makes a difference. So do something. Do something that you feel is right. That's all.
That's right. That's right.
Wait.
Oh, go ahead, Yolanda. Go for it.
Okay. So I wanted to answer the positive question. I wanted to answer this one you just posed to Dajahn. The positive question and this one with Dajahn, it kind of works hand in hand, because what I want to say about it is, one, a remedy is, like he was saying, we ourselves need to come together. You know what I mean? We ourselves need to come together and get that stuff straightened out. Okay. And then when we do come to the table with others, I really believe that these people that are trying to make changes and people that are calling on us and saying, what can we do? I believe they really want to do that. I believe that things have been going the way they've been going for so long. I hate to use this example, but I'll just say it. Okay, so R. Kelly, stuff was going on, whatever. And people were just used to it that way. I'm not saying this whole thing is like a rape, but you know, it's like you can't change and do better if you don't know what it is you need to do better, because you're so used to the way it's always been. You may say things that you've always said, but you don't know that it's wrong because nobody's called you on it or educated you about it. I think that people really, these theater companies, they really want to do right, but it's been the way it's been, and no one's called for the change. And now I believe, like Jacole said, there's a dismantling happening. There's an exposure happening to this sore. This thing is cracked open right now. So now what are we going to do with it? Now everybody is just open and exposed. And like TJ said, well, now people have to come up and step forward and say, okay, we want to make a change. Let us partner with you. Let's get this table thing going and let's talk about what it is. What do you guys need? What have we been doing?
No. They know what the change is. We got to stop waiting for this. They got to do it. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say this.
Yes.
Dismantling means nothing. I haven't heard anything from anybody. I haven't heard anything from any leaders of the artistic directors. I have heard nothing. I got a letter. That's all. What are you going to do?
Okay, got you.
Nothing.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is, I think they do want to. But shoot, it's scary to come up against us.
They don't. They don't.
It's scary to come up. Listen, let me finish my thought, everybody. It's scary to come up against us. We big and we bad. And even if we're this,
it's not our fault.
We're big and we're bad. You know what I mean? We come with a lot of stuff because we come with all this stuff. And how I am positive every day is because I don't function in lack. I don't function. I may not have it, but I didn't grow up like that mattered. I didn't grow up like it doesn't matter that you don't have this. You what you got.
I don't believe it. I don't think they're going to do anything. I think they're going to have a group of people go into the neighborhoods and do a little show, a little Shakespeare show. I think they're going to have some meetings, some panels, and then when the next coronavirus thing comes along, it's going to be over.
But you know what? And can I say something to that?
Go ahead.
When the funding sources called for the Black theater groups in San Diego so they could do their own Shakespeare and Running Through the Park, there was no coalition of Black theater groups. There was no.
There was an effort. We had a consortium. We had meetings, but they didn't follow through.
I'm talking about last week.
What last week? I'm talking about last 20, 40 years.
Well, I mean, I know about the 400 years, but I'm saying we have to be available and active. Nobody's going to fund us to start a theater group. The 7 theater groups that already existed, when that funding became available for them to use the arts to speak to the racism and the systemic racism that's going on in this country, there were no Black theater groups ready to jump on that.
No, we're not ready. We're not ready. We
TJ, Dajahn, right there, at that point right there, that's a great point for me to get into one of our next questions.
Okay.
At that point right there.
Ahmed,
The question we got.
say,
Oh yeah, go ahead, Delicia.
It's Delicia. Just one thing that I want to put on the record, which is talking about, it's related to what TJ and Yolanda was just talking about. I gotta really, for a long time, I didn't want my white friends to text me because I couldn't articulate my feelings. I was just too, right. And then right when I needed to hear from somebody, wondering the same questions as TJ, Barry from the Old Globe texted me to let me know he was thinking about me, that he was reluctant to text me, which I also appreciated, and that he was committed, like Jacole said, to making sure change happens. And that in answer to TJ, and I've only been to one meeting so far for what is being called right now, I think the working title is a part of the Old Globe's Breaking Bread Black Artist Collective, I think we decided on, or are thinking about. And so, but like TJ, because even my participation on that is iffy for me, because like TJ, I'm fucking done with meetings. I'm done with it.
It's not our deal. It's not our problem.
And so it's but I love being with those people. And so it's like, that's why I'm moment to moment.
I feel you.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying that this next question bleeds into that conversation is that actually there's two questions, but I'll skip to this one and I'll read it as it's written. Implicit in this conversation, it seems to be white people have to give us permission to create professional theater. Why is that? Negro Ensemble didn't need permission. National Black Theater didn't. Does anybody have a comment on that?
To exist in San Diego, we can't exist as a Black theater. We can represent Black theater, but the audiences come from, San Diego is very spread out, and our resources are very minimal in Black theater. We need partnership, we need help. And it's not that they're not helping us, they're keeping us down, you know? And they're not doing it on purpose. It's just the way we are perceived. It's just the way when we bring a project to them, it becomes their project. Instead of us getting the relevancy from it and getting the donations and introducing us to the people and saying, this is your project, or saying that this individual is worth whatever he's doing, they take the project, appropriate it, and it's, you know, and we just want the project done. So we let that happen, and we don't even see that it's happening. What do we own in this town in theater? What is ours?
All 7 of those theater groups that we talked about.
Right.
But they don't. Okay.
So in other words, it would see that those 7 theater groups that you're mentioning, to speak to this person's question, is there would have to be a collective of them to get together and come together and partner up. But what TJ is saying, when we're talking about doing these things on a big level, on a huge level, it's very difficult. The real people don't understand the business side of this. They don't understand what it takes to put on a production, or what it takes to advertise that production, and what it takes to get someone to come and direct and get the actors and pay for this and advertise, especially in this town. This is San Diego. It's not some little town. This is a big town. It takes a lot of money to do things in this town, whatever you're trying to do. It takes a lot of money. I want to get into this question also. I'm pretty sure everybody on this call is familiar with the Dear White American Theater, the letter that was penned last week or a week and a half ago. Does anybody have any critique or mention or any comment to go along with that letter that went out? Or did it speak for itself?
I didn't read it. I think we ought to. my feeling is that we're not Black theater, we're theater.
Yeah.
And we don't need any special compensation. We need the same opportunities that was given when I came here. Doug and Sam were starting a theater. Steppenwolf was starting a theater. The Coronado Playhouse was starting the theater. We need the same opportunities that they had. These big theaters, the Old Globe. I slept in a 1961 car in Balboa Park saying that I want to be part of the Old Globe. The opportunity wasn't there for me to be part of it. Everything was them doing me a favor, letting me be part of it. And I had to acquiesce to that. Let's give us a balanced playing ground. Let's fund us balance. We're going to make a mistake. We're not going to do it right. Let us make some mistakes. Let us direct a bad show and not lose our jobs. Let us act in a bad show and not, not be called a bad actor and not get hired anymore. I worked at the Globe one time, much ado about nothing, and they've never hired me again. And I've done a million shows and I've won a bunch of awards. Tell me what that's about. And it's not about me, because I'm done with this shit. I'm telling you that it's not fair, and they need to solve the problem along with us. They need to support us in solving this problem because we're part of the same community. We are theater. We're not Black theater, we're theater. We just represent the Black culture. That's all. Asian culture, Spanish culture. It's all theater.
Well, who's supposed to tell the Black story then?
The Black people tell the Black story, but we get the same respect. We get the same consideration. We get the same grants that they get. They get $1 million, $1 billion for nothing. So they,
Yeah, but we don't have to ask them for that. I really think we should just go for the money and do our own productions. It's about sustainability.
I agree.
Be in partnership with them, like them, shrinking ourselves for them. It's not about them. They're gonna come see us. We're the best storytellers in the world. And this whole idea of we gotta ask them and get permission from them, I've always had a problem with that. And I'm a native San.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want no more meetings. If they gonna do something, do something.
There you go. Buy a ticket.
Well,
They can buy a ticket.
I don't want no more meetings. I don't want no more panels. I'm tired of it. We've been doing this for years. We've done this for years. They know that. They know what to do. I don't dislike anybody, but they know what to do. Come on. They know who's good and who's bad. They decide, they choose to do what they do. And we can work together and we can be happy and we can work together. We got Black theaters all over the place, but they'll decide to do a little tour and that'll be it. That's not enough. They've held us down for so long. Now it's time for them to help us, pick us up, support us. We don't need them. I'll start a theater with all of you guys, and I think it'll be better than any theater in town.
Talk about it.
Well, look, right there. How about we go ahead and cap it right there? I told y'all this is going to be a good conversation, a real conversation, and like I said, this is just the beginning. I agree with both of your points, and I think what does come down to the bottom line is I know all of you from working in San Diego theater. I know Calvin Manson from working in San Diego theater. So yes, there is these different factions, but at the end of the day, I remember speaking to somebody, director of community from Tessatura, and he actually said that San Diego had one of the most cooperative theater communities in the country. Out of all, he said, so think about that. He said that San Diego has one of the most cooperative theater communities in the country. And the only way I can validate that is that's how I know all of you. All of these problems, all of these issues, I know of them from working with all of you in various San Diego theaters.
I'm
and
gonna
to wrap it up.
I'm just going to second only because when Jen and Joanne and Leave and I started Moxie, there's not a theater in town that wouldn't answer a call about anything. And throughout the history when I was there, I could call the Playhouse and say, you don't got to tell me the numbers, but I need help with how much of your income is from subscribers and how much is from single ticket. I mean, everybody will answer any question. And so I find that's why we all do theater. We love theater and we love theater people. This is and I want to validate that part, and also want to validate TJ that people, he's right, that people know what to do. It's time for them to do it.
It's just time to do it. It's just time to do it.
Can I say one more thing?
Let's go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, and I'm cool being if I'm the only one who feels this way, I'm cool with that. But I just don't feel as an artist that I have the luxury to just do theater. I have to do Black theater. I have to tell my story, Black story. Black lives matter, Black art matter, and Black people matter. So I have to do it a different way.
Black, we can't help but tell the Black story. That's our legacy. That's where we come from. You know, that's what we do. But we also are artists, and we can do other things. We're not limited to that. And they want to limit us to that. They want you to be a Blackter. I'm not going to do that. I'm an actor. I can do anything. I'm a director. I'm a teacher. I'm not going to be limited. I tell the Black story because I am Black.
And with that, we'll really leave it right there. Look, again, as I told everybody, this is not a one-off. As you can see, this is an ongoing conversation, and I want this to continue. And everybody who's on this panel, I would love for all of them to come back, whether it's one guest at a time or two guests at a time. But I want this to continue. We have been going for like an hour and a half now. It is a Friday night, and there's been a lot of Juneteenth events today. I know probably a lot of people are tired, and but I want to thank everybody who has joined us today. Thank you very much. I want to thank all of my guests: Delicia Turner-Sonnenburg, TJ Antonio Johnson, Michael Taylor, Jacole Kitchen, Yolanda Franklin, my man Dajahn. Thank all of you for taking the time to come here and for laying it out. I really appreciate it, because this conversation wasn't going to happen any other way with all of us on it. That's the only way it's going to happen. And again, and all of you out there who are listening, especially all of our associates, our coworkers, everyone that we've worked with, and even those who are just theater goers or friends, thank you for taking the time to listen to us talk and rant, and thank you for letting us be honest with you. And if you want to contact anybody on this panel, you can reach me at adents@sdrep.org. You can find me at Facebook on Ahmed's Voice, and I will point you in the right direction to get to everybody on the professional level. If you have, please, any feedback about this panel, I mean it, any positive, negative, lukewarm, send me an email, send me a message, get at me.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, Ahmed. Ahmed, did I say that right? Thank you, brother.
Hey, Ahmed, it's all the same in Arabic. So look,
I want to give one final thought and thank the rep for doing this, because as Delicia said earlier, these are conversations that we have in private, that we've been having amongst ourselves forever. And so the idea of being able to have this conversation in public, I thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the real deal. So again, thank all of you for listening. Again, all the feedback, give it to me. I got big shoulders. I could take it. I'll dish it out too, though. So just thank you, everybody. Be on the lookout this for being a continuing series. Everybody have a spectacular Friday night. Enjoy the rest of your Juneteenth, Freedom Day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Woo! And everybody, please be cautious, be safe, have a good time, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
How do you get out of here?
All right.